What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Mist Podcast. It's your host here, Aeromist. I am going to be talking about today how school and the school system itself has programmed people. Oh boy, oh boy. I think we all can already understand the implications of what it's done to people subconsciously when you look at the workforce. Because that's technically everything to do with the schooling system and how it's designed. It's not designed to teach anybody practical means or things that they should know. And I feel like now it's never been more prominent than ever that people realize how much of a waste of time school has become just from the structural basis of it in itself. And you could, and I'm sure somebody will attest to say that like the socialization of it is productive, especially for, you know, different age groups. And that is only true when those age groups can congregate in places that are out of similar or familiar, I say familiar, similar interest, and upon similarity starts to bring familiarity, right? Because even with the younger you go, as we've all been, the purer state that you are and your consciousness, the more open you are in your freedom of exploring and just figuring out what seems familiar to you, that is interesting. Interest creates familiarity, and upon that is where you'd have the most productive socialization, because it becomes a point where everyone's learning at the same time, and people, it's a different dynamic than, putting a bunch of people in a room, regardless of the age group, and just expecting everyone to work the same way, under the same parameters, learning the same way. Like, just none of that makes any sense. And so then you begin to wonder why many of us feel stripped from our spirit. Many have been completely disconnected from their spirit due to how the fluctuation of school is. And that's why you've seen schools have so many more problems over the time, from every level, from the younger generation of kids and all the issues teachers have, to high school students having literally no fucks to give about even showing up to school anymore, and anything to do with just taking any alternative route that either saves them from having to go waste their time, or doing it online now and just completely taking it out of the equation of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get this, like, whatever it might be. And the whole reason for that is like, how are we going to impose stuff onto individuals in general and then expect that that's not going to have all these other repercussions? Because then you think about the start of self-destructive connotations, the negative facilitation of a social environment that is not suitable for most people in general. And then that's what creates other types of issues for people in whatever ways that it might be. Once again, you're trying to congregate a group in general of people and throw them into a place, put it under a legal jurisdiction that these people have to learn something that doesn't actually pertain to their existence, and then almost continue to relearn the same thing year by year by year by year, over and over and over. And it's just like, well, what are you trying to impose? Because last time I checked, the most productive point in society's existence without the intervention of technology came at a point where our progression came from a peer-to-peer standpoint, and building instead of destroying the systems. And by destroying the systems, we're talking about constricting and limiting the position that you put every single individual that walks into a school door, where they are now living in a constricted, almost like you're training soldiers, basically, which in a way, why do some people come out of school and think that the only option they have is to go to the military? I have a couple homies that felt like that, and one of them did go. And even still to this day, like, he's not satisfied with his life. It keeps him out financially, but once again, it's like, spirit is supposed to be so much more important than finances ever would. But it's like school in itself, even going into college now, just leads you into this place where you're going to waste all your money. Like, and I mean, if you get to go to school for free, that's cool, but it's like, YouTube lets me learn everything now. So tell me, in a world of practicality, how it makes any sense to shove something down people's throats that they don't want to hear or they don't give a fuck about. because that's pretty much all school ever was just shoving shit down our throats constantly in different ways through different teachers' ideologies and what they had to say and how you have to do things, and everyone slightly changing their curriculum to teach their own personal venture underneath how they're portraying what makes sense. And it's just a never-ending loop to then, like, and also think of the occasional aspect of how school exasperates capitalism and also exasperates people to spend money, because the incentive that the school itself is it's a business, bro. It is. So every single schooling system in itself is a whole fluctuating business, and every single person that walks in that door is just another pawn in that business. Like, and sit here and tell me a school that has not made more profit on every single person that walked in comparative to the amount of money they had to spend to accommodate, to provide services, right? Like school lunch or whatever. But unironically enough, you still have to pay for that. And most kids do. And they have to always pay for it. And then by the time you get to higher grades and you get older, then most of the time, if you're not paying for your own food even out of the vending machines, then like, okay, so what are you providing? You're basically like school itself is just turned into a consumerism thing where it's like we're making you go to this room, we're trying to feed you a bunch of shit, and then at the same time we're also only setting you up so that you understand how to go make money, be a slave, and then go spend the money, and then continue in that same looping route. Then we wonder why all these other things in the world are happening, and you have all these other problems, mental illness, whatever it is. And it's just like all the programming that alone endures. And now, like, yes, there can be like pros to it, like, but the format of education in itself could have been overhauled and completely redone years ago. Many of the systems that still thrive today could have been overhauled for better systems, for more realistic systems. And now things are going to transform regardless of whether people want to or not because of AI. And AI is going to completely transform the aspect of how learning is. But that's just going to make it worse because now they can train you however they really want to train kids at a younger age. And it becomes a whole different, another depth level of observation. We're already seeing this in China. And like their experiment right now with, having another class of kids learn with AI involved and a little fucking thing over their heads that shows if they're distracted or not and other kinds of things. And I'm like, what the, like, okay, interesting. So looking at it overall, and you look at a lot of the ways that things have played out and how people end up being people thinking they have to do this or they have to do that because they weren't taught about money or have to exist this way or think that way because or celebrate things that they don't have to celebrate because school made you celebrate these things and even made you pay to go celebrate certain other things. And like they're just all these unconscious processes of how it all is set up was just prosed the facilitation of individuals into the regular world and just being able to almost subconsciously accept what the world is. Because if the system right now just stopped existing for 2 years, 5 years honestly would probably be a better bet, but for 2 to 5 years, and you take into account then in that frame when the awakening begins to happen of people and, the younger generation coming up and realizing what the hell's going on when they walk out their doors and they're involved in the rest of the world, that basically has that place has mimicked where many have came from now. And that's why we don't stand up upon things that actually are hurting the planet, or, we don't actually have a true sense of reform. The people that are running everything, we have more and more evidence every single day that they've completely destroyed and just pissed on everything in this entire world. Like all over the planet, the entire industrialization and capitalism, the way that the U.S. government has done whatever they've done, whatever. And so then you also look at where curriculum even came in and who created it. There was somebody that literally created curriculum. So all of this to say that even that in and itself is going to give accurate information for people to be able to learn is kind of a redundant thing all in itself, because that's just not the case. And if we were accurate about teaching what needs to be learned, then like I never learned a damn thing that I'll ever use out of school. And now maybe that's because like there was some things that would have mattered, but nobody ever said, hey, this is important. You need to know how to do this. You should take your financial literacy classes every year and make sure that you follow along. Like nobody pressed how important some things, even if they were there, like, because those should be mandatory. But instead it's mandatory for me to go take, 4 years of a language that I've known how to speak since I was a fucking kid, because that's how, like, but unless I wanted to go into writing or something deeper, why did that matter? Like, and even then, the things I've learned about when it comes to writing and writing in general and language and utilizing music and all that kind of stuff has never came from anything to do with the fucking class that I ever took in school at any age. So it's just like, once again, my time was like wasted. And now I'm basically having to re-enter a sense of school, but I'm having to be a universal and a student in a different way. And that is driven by my own motivation, my own, drive and everything else. And like, it's just kind of like how it would have been if I was a kid and people had enabled me to just not have to do the bullshit that me and many people never wanted to do to begin with, because it's not a part of our spirit and it's not a part of what connects us into what we're already actually interested in and inclined for and what we're good at. Like, and I'm not sitting here wallowing over like, damn, it is what it is, to be honest. Like, this is just a part of my experience where I'm learning it now. And thankfully I have the opportunity to learn it without having to deal with a lot of repercussions that other people have. And so I'm very grateful. But at the same time, it still comes with knowing that, like, this is why we're in this big process of like unlearning what almost all of us have been taught through years and years of the cycle and the shit that we had to go through, just as an imprint of what we were getting conditioned for, and undoing that subconscious conditioning. And for me personally, I was dealing away with that way before I ever even got out of school, where I just like understood how much of a fuck it didn't matter. And I tried showing up as little as possible in high school, and it wasted my time. Where's the value? I'm sitting here like, I want something to do that is productive. And like, when it came to junior, senior year, for I think a lot of people, it's just like your workload ain't hardly shit to some point if you kept up with it or whatever. And like, and by that, I mean, like, you don't have to be doing the most, just doing what you have to do. But still, that's wasting. It wasted my fucking time when I could have been sitting there and learning things that actually were valuable. Nobody told me it was valuable, not even the school. And why would they tell me? Why would they tell me how credit works? Why would they tell me how these other things work? Why would they teach an entire thousands of kids at 17, 18 years old how credit works accurately? Like, you could take an optional class, but once again, like, the system is not, the whole point is the system itself is not designed, and it's not accurately setting everything up for people to integrate into this world to be something other than self-destructive machines. Literally. Because if you're completely disconnected from your spirit, by the time you get out of there, then you're just enslaved to everything else for the rest of the world, for the rest of your existence in this lower dimensional form, until you disperse in energy and come back again. And so it's a constant, consistent loop on just exactly how school has trained people. Now, think about events at the same time, because the school only offers you so many types of events to be a part of, and doesn't exactly make it inclusive to hold a value in all the same type of events. So, once again, it's this like subconscious training of like you being okay with like sport entertainment being the focal point, and they make all this money off of doing that anyway. It's not something that they just have out there, because if it was truly like we're trying to let people expand themselves and grow into understanding who they are and whatever else would really fucking matter when it comes to letting the youth evolve as individuals, it would not have a capitalistic point set behind it. And like, sure, there's art supplies, there's other things, but like almost every single school, as far as I'm concerned of, has taken their capitalism to the maximum. Because, if they're not getting the funding, then what else the hell can they do? They have to raise money somehow. And some states have cut their funding, and it's just like, it's a constant, consistent loop one way or another of like the downfall and the downgrade of how we've just continued to accept that things are what they are for whatever. And things only improve whenever they absolutely have to. And the system that's in place right now is only going to change because of artificial intelligence. And it's just going to be because now, like, why do you need an English class when ChatGPT will write me my essay? Like, it's already becoming like it doesn't matter. And it hasn't mattered for so long. And that's what AI is finally showing everyone, that like a long time ago, we could have overhauled this whole thing. But yet we're still okay with how it's fluctuating. I say okay as in like no one's sitting here and saying the education system's fucked, because even though we know that a college degree no longer means a damn thing anymore. Like, yeah, you need to know how to do very specific things for certain things on the planet. You can't go be a brain surgeon without having to know a lot of the other things that involve being a brain surgeon and the experience on cutting people open and doing like that makes sense. That is getting your education to achieve a specific type of goal. It's just like if I right now want to go learn coding on my own, that is me achieving a specific type of goal that gains me a skill that is only going to be replicatable or mean enough if I learn that skill avidly, thoroughly, and then I go get a job to do that. And yes, if I learn a skill at that depth and I take the time and attention to do it, I should get paid very avidly for it. That makes sense, right? And that's how it is today. If you solve very adequate, consistent, and acute problems, then you get paid the most for it. And even though all these other bottom-end jobs are getting replaced by AI, like a brain surgeon does get replaced eventually, but his nurses get replaced first, right? Like his front desk lady gets replaced first. Everything in that clinic gets replaced before he does. And so then if he's the last one on the chain, then he technically has the most power, because then he opens his own practice in a different way that lets him do virtual based stuff. And you see where this goes. The whole point is that like you're in a different position when you've acquired the sense of skill and learned it and underneath it. And those should be something that like, yeah, you don't just take it out entirely, but like if it has no purpose, if it's not serving a sense of making sense, and because the only way someone's going to do it if they actually really, really, really want to do it. And the only way you're going to have the best brain surgeon or the best coder or the best anything is letting them envelop in it in an educational way that makes sense for them to grab it. And if they end up not liking it, then that's cool. But those are the things that make sense. But then there's all this other washed up shit in the middle of it that like I can go get my associates by just doing a bunch of shit that still doesn't matter like high school did. And I might get an associate's in something that I still don't fucking know my shit in. And if school is working the same way at a college level that it is at the levels below that, for you to go take this test and then you go figure this out, it's like then none of that matters. And the only thing that really matters is the things that let you get hands-on experience, because everything else pretty much can be taught to anybody if you don't have to have hands-on experience. That means I can do it for my house because I can do it on the internet at that point if it's not hands-on related. And so that's why there's some things that you don't have the ability to get around with. That makes sense, right? But the whole proposition of this is that it does not make fucking sense, and it's programmed every single person that ever went to school in different specific type of ways. And unless you've unlearned the practicality behind education in itself and the system going along with it is that it does not make sense, and you yourself could still be living in a world where school programmed you to be accepting or be living of things that you don't have to be doing or be living of. And it is time that we really reconcile with just how fucked school has made a lot of people inside of what they deem is okay, what they deem is not okay. And it's not the whole story. There's many other things that go into this compartment. People's home life is obviously one, like that plays a huge part. But, and once again, I'm not saying that like school is the full epitome of evil. And every person that works at a school is just out here trying to only make a bag and doesn't care about people. Like, that's not the thing. The thing is that it doesn't matter who works for the system. If the system is designed by somebody at the top that never gave a shit, then it doesn't matter who you put in those places. They're still accomplishing the job underneath the system that was built by the unfortunate branch. So, which means that in any case, it's just like the nurse at a hospital is not the bad person, but unfortunately, and she, he, whoever it is, they can have the best intentions, but it doesn't matter because they're still doing a job for another system, a system that's owned by someone that owns the whole hospital. And right, you see where this goes. Like, they don't get to make any executive decision that actually impacts the life of the person that they're trying to help. Now, yeah, obviously they can to some degree, but when we're talking about how an overall system works, it's not accomplishing that goal fulfillmently. It is at first only accomplishing getting as much money as possible, profits. And the school system is like, everything's been designed that way, but it's been designed to maximize the profits and then shit on the people on the other end instead of having some formidable balance in the middle. And that's just the whole break of all of it. And the other part of like exasperating on like how important the things from school have become has also been a thing, because they knock it up in a psychological manner for you to like care about all these things that really don't fucking matter, and they never will. And they don't matter once you are no longer in school. And then the longer you're not in school, the more that you realize, like, damn, why did I care about any of that shit? Like, why did I even care about the people that were around me halfway if I'll never see them again? And it's just like, it's almost like it's setting you up in any case to have these negative affiliated emotions when you're supposed to be leaving that place with positive ones. And but that's the psychological ploy in front of it all. Is like, it's, you know, we're sending you up to go do this, and now you have your diploma and you whatever, and now you can go live in the world and but bro, like, but now you're leaving the trail of all this negative ended shit regardless, and who knows what other bullshit has come from that. Everything to do with that. I can recall some good stuff from school for sure, but to be honest, like, I mean, I can recall more bullshit and more of the bullshit in general than I ever could recall the positive. And everyone's experience is different. That's true. But, you know, you ask the people that had the best experience and then ask them how much bullshit was still around them, and they're going to let you know that it all was still bullshit. The bullshit can be fun, and it can be not so fun for some people either. But regardless, the foundation of it being a waste of time still stands. And if you're in it, get the fuck out of it, to be honest. Like, just as a real piece of, like, unless you're involved in something that has to give you hands-on experience for you to do something specific, then it's probably wasting your fucking time. Some people are like, I need to go to school to do art. I need to go to school to learn music. Bro, we live in an age where you can literally go pull up, you can go get a cracked version of FL Studio, or you can go use BandLab for free. You can go get a free DAW. Go make a high quality song in that DAW, release it, and do everything you ever could have wanted to musically in under a month. Maybe you're not going to be the best artist in a month, but the amount of time that you would spend hours wise in a school to quote learn music versus just literally sitting at your computer and doing it is the same equivalent to me going to school to learn welding because I have to literally know how to do things physically. Otherwise, I'm never going to understand how to do it. So going into a welding school and them never letting me weld something, but just giving it to me on text, pen, and paper is the exact same equivalent of me trying to go to school for music. You have to have skin in the game or you don't get to understand a damn thing anyway. You can understand it in theory, but until it's put into play, then you don't get the full grasp of putting it together. And that's the whole point, is that, like, I mean, yeah, music school probably does put it in for you, and it does it, like, I get that. But the point is that you're going to waste a lot of time in the middle, and you don't have to waste a lot of time in the middle. But why would they do that? You know, and sometimes that can be years in the middle that they waste for you to do these other basics or to do these other things or whatever. And why? Why don't they just get straight to the point and teach it to you? Why do you have to have, because they make money from you. That's the whole point. You are a profit bargain every time that you sign up and you're there. That's why they're willing to let those loans get, like, shit, you need those loans, go for it, bro. You want that refund? You want that refund you're going to get with the loan you have? Shit, we got you, bro, because they make their money back no matter what. And even if they don't, they still make a profit on that shit at the end of the day. We live in a loan-based capitalist society. We live in a debt system that is beyond what most people ever could conceive, at the depth of it anyway. But thank you guys for coming to this conversation. I say conversation as if there were two people talking to this talk about how school has programmed people. Remember, we're going to have a new episode every week. Links down in the description. I also make music if you want to go check that out. Thank you guys for love and support. Aramis.xyz. We got wrapped crystals. I got NFTs. I got paintings. I got some merch. Got all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. Aramis.myshoppo.com. I'll catch you guys in the next one.